Hello there, Faith, Film, and Focus. This is Cameron Arnett. Now the question is, what are some techniques and or elements that go into making a great trailer? Well, for me as a director-producer, I like to think that vision and purpose is the main key for me. What is the purpose of a trailer in the first place? What do you want it to do? What is it there for? It's really to get the people to come and watch your film. You have to be able to get people to either stream it, download it, whatever it is, the platform is, whether it's a theater or anything else. But the bottom line is that a trailer has to have that feeling, that emotional aspect into it that gets somebody to say, wow, I really want to see that film. I really want to experience whatever is being told, whatever the story is in that movie. I want to see it. And if I don't see it, I'll miss something, right? And so for me, the purpose, I deal with what do I want the people to experience in just watching the trailer. What do I want them to do, right? And I want them to see the film. And so sometimes I see trailers that they get a little fluffy. They look good, a lot of great pictures and everything else, and they tell a story. And sometimes they tell too much of the story, but they don't get you to spend your money in a sense of really wanting it. Because for me, if I'm going to spend my money, I'm going to spend my money on something that I really want to do. I really want to see. I really want to experience. And I think that's the purpose of the trailer. To tell you that we have spent countless hours putting together a phenomenal story, have a great script, great actors, everything else. And you are to see it. You are to experience it. And you are to want to. And so my job in the trailer is to give you that kind of experience within the trailer itself. And I have been extremely fortunate with James Burgess, Reagan Gavan, making that happen, and just being able to follow through on the purpose of the trailer. And so that's my story, and I'm sticking with it. God bless you guys.
Hello, my name is Shawn Justice, the filmmaker here at Justice Pictures. I've been in the business for over 3 decades, and over the last 20 years, I've helmed 5 Christian films, sold the rights of a screenplay that got made into a film that was distributed by Universal, and been a DP on a couple of short films. As a believer, I always want to do the best I can with the resources that God has given me. That said, trailers are something I've always had a hard time with. How do you boil your film down to 90 seconds? What I had to learn is that you can't think of trailers in terms of your film, but more of a mini story in of itself that has people saying, "Shut up and take my money." Kidding aside, the person who has helped me the most with my trailers is actually my wife, Sarah. She has this ability to wrap her head around trailers, unlike me. She was also my production designer on my last 2 films and is very artistic and an out-of-the-box thinker, which is completely necessary for trailers. I talked to her before I shot this video, and she reminded me that we did a lot of research on how to make the best trailers. We read articles, looked up YouTube videos, yes, they do exist, and we experimented. The biggest thing that I learned in doing a trailer for your movie is to forget your movie. What I mean is that too many trailers tell the story of the movie from beginning to end. That may sound odd, but the goal of the trailer is not for the audience to understand the film entirely, but to get them saying, I have to see this film, I have to see what happens. Remember, it's a marketing tool for your product. Hook the audience and make them want more. Basically, again, don't give away the story. One of the things we also do in our research before producing a trailer is to look at other successful films in the genre of our film, Christian or mainstream, and take a look at their trailers and see what they were like. We study them and figure what made us want to see the actual film. Was it the music, the visuals, the suspense built? Take detailed notes and you'll probably start to see some consistent elements. Also, my wife said to be aware of trends. For a while, a lot of trailer used the angry tugboat sound effect, but then it wore out its welcome and you never heard it again. I'm sure there's other examples. Just be careful. My wife also mentioned that our kids once watched those fake fan trailers. Remember the trailer of Frozen recut into a horror suspense film with eerie music? It was very creative, and it got your attention, just think outside of the box. I'm old enough to remember that trailers used to top 3 minutes in length. Yes, I said 3-minute trailers. It was a different time. Trailer lengths have been getting shorter and shorter, faster and faster paced. 90 seconds is about as long as you want your trailer to be nowadays, so keep it moving. Start by going through the movie and picking out, your movie by the way, and picking out really good quotes, phrases, or executed lines. Pick reaction shots, looks, and action shots that are interesting. You may not use all of these elements in your trailer, but it's better to have more than less to work with. Write them out on Post-it notes or small notes, and once you're done, put them all up onto a wall or something similar so that you can step back and take a look and see all those elements, and then you start dividing them up into categories any way you want, a type of element, or perhaps generally you know where you're going to use those elements in the trailer. Then start pulling those elements off the wall and building the trailer linearly or even in the edit. You'll probably do a lot of arranging and rearranging to find the order that works. Remember, you want to keep the audience guessing, and you don't have to order the clips in the same order as the movie storyline. You can also put different sound bites with non-matching visuals to make it interesting. The rules are completely different than they are for your movie. I'd recommend starting with something impactful, whether action or dramatic. Get people's attention to say that this movie is worth watching. Have your audience saying, whoa, wait, what? Also, your clips may or may not come from the final edit of the film. I cut my first trailer for The Narrow Road before I started the edit of the actual movie, and there are definitely some shots that worked more for the trailer than for the film itself. Like a movie, you want to build to a climax. Not only is this in the visuals, but in the music as well. Pick the best music for your trailer. This may or may not actually be from your soundtrack. I use sites like audiojungle.com, but there's plenty of other great sites out there too for music. Your trailer is the most important sales tool that you have. Don't worry if the trailer is better than the film actually. The idea is to build an audience that wants to watch the film in the first place. You also have the option to edit multiple trailers. Generally they're similar, but give a slightly different angle, or perhaps you're targeting a different audience. Sometimes the staggered release of multiple trailers will keep your audience tuned in while they wait for the film to come out. So now you're done with a trailer edit. You might think it's done and it's great, but what I'd suggest is that you get feedback from trusted people, such as fellow filmmakers and friends who frequent movies. Make sure they're an honest bunch, not just praising you, maybe even brutally honest. Why let these people be brutally honest before the release of the trailer? Because it's better to come from friends rather than the general public later on. I think there's a verse for that somewhere. It was actually George Lucas who brought in his friends to watch a rough cut of Star Wars, and from the stories, they were brutal. But in the end, it helped Lucas make the blockbuster film that it became. All said, take what suggestions you get, weigh them, and mull them over for a bit, and that's so important. If you instantly make all of the suggested changes, you'll most likely end up with a really bad trailer. So make only the changes that make sense to you after you've had time to consider them. So that's just a few things I've learned over the last few years in doing trailers for my films. I'm still a student. Thanks for listening. May God bless you as you move forward with your efforts to tell His kingdom stories and sharing His heart with others.
Hey, praise the Lord, everybody. What's up? What's up? This is your brother in Christ, Dray Hill, and I'm excited to share with you some of the processes that I go through to make a movie trailer. The first thing that I'm doing is I'm dropping to my knees and I'm asking God for direction. I'm asking for three main things when I'm praying. The first one is that the Lord would lead me to the talent, the actors that are talented and also that are humble actors. And they have the ability to take the character that I give them and they are able to develop it into personality that was easy for them to present. And I have been blessed to be able to work with a lot of people like that. So kudos to everyone. The next thing that's important to me is when I'm praying is asking God for the crew. These are people that, of course, they need to be easy to work with, and they see and they support the vision of the story that we're trying to tell. And again, I've been blessed to be able to work with people like that, and so kudos to you also. And then the last thing that I'm praying for is after we get all of the pieces of the film that we need, I'm asking God to give me the inspiration to bring the right pieces together to be able to present an exciting and condensed story without telling the whole story. Once those elements are in place, when I have all those pieces, the first thing that I like to do is find maybe 2 or 3 highlights. And the highlights are the most exciting part, or the part that gets and grabs the attention of the viewers. And following that, I like to take clips of other parts of the movie, and so I put together like an outline. So I have an introduction, a highlight, another highlight, and then the climax. So in between the introduction and the first highlight, I take the mini clips or the clips that I found throughout the story, and I like to make it tell a mini story that makes a bridge that connects to the first highlight. And then follow the same process from the first highlight to the second highlight. I'm finding clips that tells a mini story. And then from the last highlight, telling a mini story with those clips that lead to the climax. So that's the outline that I use in putting the framework of it together. After that, then comes the muscles and the meat part of the trailer. And because I'm a musician, I think that music is a very critical part of that process. It's important that the music enhances and fits the mood of the trailer or the movie itself. If it's a scary movie, then of course you don't want any happy music. You want music that is going to build that mood, build that feeling that you are looking to show throughout the movie. So music is a part of that. I also strongly believe that when you're telling this mini story, this trailer, I think that the scenes should change in the rhythm with the music. So what I mean by that is, let's say if you have 2 measures, 1, 2, 3, 4, 1, 2, 3, 4. So in between those measures, I usually like to change the scene on the first measure, which would be the 4th beat of that measure, and then the next scene for the 4th beat of that measure. And so the syncopation of the scenes and the music, I believe that it gives a flow to the whole story. And so people are caught up in the music as well as caught up in the story. And I think that that's a good procedure to follow. And at least that's what I do. Also, sometimes I consider adding a voiceover to enhance the story also. If the clips are not giving me enough information, then I like to add a narration, which is the person telling a fact or something about a particular character or the situation, and I like to usually place them in between the introduction and the first highlight. When I get to the first highlight, I usually like to let the scene and the words that the characters are saying in it just speak for itself. Then after that's cut and it goes to the next bridge, then I like to put another voiceover or narration in it. And then sometimes I may do it at the end of the climax to give some type of whatever type of feeling that I want to present. Also, sometimes in the voiceover, I may use, or the narration, I may use a line that one of the characters use in the movie, or sometimes I may even just use another voice that has nothing to do with the movie. Of course, that's a personal choice, but those are some of the things that I do. So now when all of these parts are summed up and they're put in a order, a carefully planned out order that tells a short story in a condensed way, I think, or at least my goal, is to leave the viewer with a heightened desire to know what's going to happen next. And I think if I've accomplished that, then they will be eager to see the entire movie. I also like to add that even when we follow all this processes to come to finishing up a trailer, it's good to let a few people see it, people that you have confidence in. So, because sometimes what we see as editors or directors or filmmakers might not be what the viewer may see. So I think it's good to bounce off their view, and then if it's something that they mention that you see that you missed, then of course then you can go in and add it and make it a part of the trailer. So in concluding, when we have all of the components together, I think that we will come out with a exciting and captivating movie trailer. All right. So this is my point of view. I'm Dray Hill. Peace.
Creating a compelling and engaging trailer is the most important thing you do once you complete your film. Hey there, I'm Ann Heaton Gray, owner of Excelsior Studios, and today we're going to talk about the key elements and techniques that you need to consider when creating a great trailer for your project. One of the most important things is music. It connects people, it engages people, it pulls them in. So you really want to make sure that you have music that best carries your story along. Is it a suspense? Is it a mystery? Is it a love story? Is it an action adventure? You want to make sure that you have music that matches what your theme is or your genre is for your project, and it's something that pulls people in and creates an emotion within them. Another thing that you want to consider is voiceover. And I know it may not be something that you think of in the very beginning when you think of, what do I need for my trailer to really engage people? But when you really think about it, what they're hearing outside of the story, it helps to tell that story. It helps to fuel it along in between the gaps. Using descriptive clips that directly describe the plot spoken by the characters can accomplish the same effect and is used often.
Orders are to deliver a message calling off tomorrow morning's attack. If you fail, it will be a massacre.
Another thing to consider is your text and your animation. We've talked about the things that we're going to hear, but what about the things that they're going to see?
Okay. Harrison said you're taking off with Blake for a few days.
Yeah, tomorrow I'm gonna drive her back up to school.
I can't believe she's in college already.
I know.
Timely, well-placed text can take the place of a voiceover. With the right elements in place, it can be just as effective and dramatic.
No, Ray, really.
No, Emma. Emma.
All of these key elements are wrapped in the obstacles that the characters in your film are either trying to overcome or achieve. And the sooner you can establish that for your audience, the quicker you are going to grab them and pull them in and connect to those characters and make them care and want to see your project.
Me! I'm wrong! In our sessions together, we're going to retrain your brain to see a version of yourself that you're going to love.
You don't believe God could love you because you don't love you.
And this brings us to the most important element, I feel, in a great trailer, and that is your timing and your pacing. You want to find that beat line, so to speak, that moves your trailer along.
Right. We've been dating for over a year now, and I think it's about time people...
How often and which transitions you use are integral to helping you have an effective pace to your trailer.
Colin's wedding. Don't you want to be my family?
I hardly know anything about them. Every time I bring them up, Nick changes the subject.
And this formula can be used for any genre of film. You know, based upon what your story's about, you still got to find that beat line. You know, what is it? What is going to carry that story in a shorter amount of time while grabbing your audience? I'm Ann Heaton Gray with Excelsior Studios. Thank you for allowing me to share with you what I feel are the key elements to creating a great trailer.
This is John Wayne Bosley. I'm doing this video on the run. The question was how to make an effective trailer for a film or TV show. There's a format that has been the most effective. It basically follows this format of hook, build, and then cliffhang. You don't want to give too much of your film or TV show away, so you want to hook them in the very beginning, an image or a statement or a sound, something that grabs them in that first 3 seconds. Then you pull them in and you keep building a series of one-liners, whether they're statements, questions, images. You build till you cliffhang it so the audience says, I want more. Now, if you give out too much in your trailer, they feel like, well, then you revealed everything I need to know. But if you give them just enough, you hook them in, and then they want to watch your movie or your TV show. Now, to build off from that, with social media being the way it is, and that most trailers are now being advertised a lot on social media, a trend has been created. When you scroll through your Facebook page, you'll notice you don't hear sounds unless you stop on something. So they're not going to hear the sound of your trailer. And they're going to give you about 3 seconds as they're scrolling through. And if you don't grab on those 3 seconds, they're going to move on to something else. That's just basic fact. So what happens is you'll notice, you'll see this with Avengers movies, Star Wars movies. It's a trend going on. And a lot of times it's the trailer, the marketing arm of these distributors have noticed a trend, and they started doing this. So as an independent filmmaker, you need to think in these terms. I call them the 3 booms. About 1 second cuts. They have to be those epic, eye-grabbing shots that are in your film. 1, 2, 3, the 3 booms. Boom, boom, boom. Cut to your logo, something big and bold, and then you can move into your story. And what it does is it says to the person who's scrolling by, this isn't some cheap talking film. I spent the money. This feels like a budget that's worth coming out to the movie theater and watch. If you don't sell them that it's good enough to watch in the movie theater, then they won't care. You never sell a movie on the idea of watch this streaming, watch this on a DVD. You always sell it. It's good enough that you should have gone to a movie theater, even if it's available only in streaming. You want to be that good in your trailer that they have to watch it on the big screen, even if it's only available on DVD or in streaming. Now to build onto this idea of hook, build, cliffhanger, and the idea of the 3 booms in the beginning, the most important thing you need to do with your film trailer is ask the question, what is my film branding? Is there a unique twist, concept, a unique combination of a cast, the look, the style, the shot style, whatever it is? Like, what is it that makes this thing stand out from this competition? Because if you can't sell what's unique about your particular film or movie, nobody cares. There's too much content. Grab their attention and sell the branding. Great example. The movie 1917 is not the normal World War I Western Front trenches movie. It is not about soldiers shooting at other soldiers and the two sides coming at each other. Instead, it's about a messenger and the clock is ticking. He has to get from point A to point B or the bad stuff happens. That's a completely different concept. So when they came out with a teaser trailer, the initial teaser trailers for 1917, the messenger is running towards us. We're moving back. And the people coming out of the trenches are going from right of screen to left of screen. So what's saying is, this movie isn't about the soldiers running by us. It's not about the big battle. It's about this individual coming straight at us. He's basically center framed, coming right at us as we're backing up to follow, going back. And what it's saying is, this guy's the most important thing. It also feels like the long take, because the movie is not about the quick cuts. It's shot to feel like one long take from beginning to end. They're selling that in that teaser. So the question ends up being, what is your branding? What is so unique about this particular thing that you've made that the audience has to say, I can't miss out on watching that particular film? So, hook, build, cliffhanger, 3 booms, branding. Now, you want to take it to the next level. Imagine you can make a trailer that doesn't sell your film after you make it, but it sells investors and distributors so you can make it. Now, most people call these things pitch trailers, and that's true. But imagine for a second something better than just a traditional pitch trailer. So back in 2009, a phenomenon started developing. First, it started with a short film called Panic Attack. You can find it on YouTube. I think it's like 2 million or 3 million views now. Animator out of Montevideo, Uruguay, created this thing that was supposed to have been initially for a music video. But before he releases it as a music video, he releases it as this short. Well, it's not a traditional short. It's something else. His was the beginning of the trend. His gets picked up. All these people are talking about it. Kanye West, I believe it was, that ended up tweeting out about it. It makes about 1 million views in 24 hours. Gains all this popularity, okay? And at the end, a bunch of different executives out of Hollywood all contacted this guy, Fede Alvarez, to see his, basically a bidding war. And at the end, Sam Raimi ends up being the one that wins the bidding war, and he basically pays the guy $1 million to direct a film. Followed up by several other films. There was one called Pixel that Adam Sandler then bought the rights to, made into a feature film called Pixels. There was one called Nine. It was turned into an animated film. There was a ton of them. Anyways, around 2011 or 2012, I ran I believe it was 3 guest blog posts on the site Film Courage, talking about, it was called My Secret Weapon, and I explained what I termed as the micro pilot. The idea of, just like a TV show has a TV pilot, imagine within 5 minutes or less, it's not a traditional pilot, it's not a short, it's not a trailer, it's something else. In 5 minutes or less, preferably somewhere around 2.5, maybe 3 minutes, what is your film? What is your TV show? In a nutshell, it's designed completely different. And that will get you your funding. If, obviously, your concept is worth funding, if you know how to shoot it, etc., etc. Something different. So I tell people, go on Google, look up Film Courage, My Secret Weapon, John Wayne Bosley, and you'll find these, I believe it was 3 blog posts that I wrote way back then, that you can read and get an idea. There is something else out there besides what has been worked, what has been used before. So these are my concepts on the trailer. Hook, build, cliffhanger, the 3 booms, think branding, and explore the option of creating something like a trailer that you could get the funding, you could possibly even get some sort of a distribution deal discussed before your film is even produced. There are more options out there than people realize. Go make a trailer. Go make a film.